Day 25. Exodus 12-13. Now the Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, This month is the beginning of months for you, it shall be the first month of your year. Tell the whole congregation of Israel that on the 10th day of this month each man must select a lamb for his family, one per household. If the household is too small for a whole lamb, they are to share with the nearest neighbor based on the number of people, and apportion the lamb accordingly. Your lamb must be an unblemished year-old male, and you may take it from the sheep or the goats. You must keep it until the 14th day of the month, when the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel will slaughter the animals at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the doorframes of the houses where they eat the lambs. They are to eat the meat that night, roasted over the fire, along with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of the meat raw or cooked in boiling water, but only roasted over the fire, its head and legs and inner parts. Do not leave any of it until morning. Before the morning you must burn up any part that is left over. This is how you are to eat it. You must be fully dressed for travel, with your sandals on your feet and your staff in your hand. You are to eat in haste, it is the Lord's Passover. On that night I will pass through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn male, both man and beast, and I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. The blood on the houses where you are staying will distinguish them. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. No plague will fall on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. And this day will be a memorial for you, and you are to celebrate it as a feast to the Lord, as a permanent statute for the generations to come. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. On the first day you are to remove the leaven from your houses. Whoever eats anything leavened from the first day through the 7th must be cut off from Israel. On the first day you are to hold a sacred assembly, and another on the 7th day. You must not do any work on those days, except to prepare the meals, that is all you may do. So you are to keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread, for on this very day I brought your divisions out of the land of Egypt. You must keep this day as a permanent statute for the generations to come. In the first month you are to eat unleavened bread, from the evening of the 14th day until the evening of the 21st day. For 7 days there must be no leaven found in your houses. If anyone eats something leavened, that person, whether a foreigner or native of the land, must be cut off from the congregation of Israel. You are not to eat anything leavened, eat unleavened bread in all your homes. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and told them, Go at once and select for yourselves a lamb for each family, and slaughter the Passover lamb. Take a cluster of hyssop, dip it into the blood in the basin, and brush the blood on the top and sides of the doorframe. None of you shall go out the door of his house until morning. When the Lord passes through to strike down the Egyptians, he will see the blood on the top and sides of the doorframe and will pass over that doorway, so he will not allow the destroyer to enter your houses and strike you down. And you are to keep this command as a permanent statute for you and your descendants. When you enter the land that the Lord will give you as he promised, you are to keep the service. When your children ask you, What does the service mean to you? You are to reply, It is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he struck down the Egyptians and spared our homes. Then the people bowed down and worshipped. And the Israelites went and did just what the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. Now at midnight the Lord struck down every firstborn male in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, as well as all the firstborn among the livestock. During the night Pharaoh got up, he and all his officials and all the Egyptians, and there was loud wailing in Egypt, for there was no house without someone dead. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron by night and said, Get up, leave my people, both you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds as well, just as you have said, and depart. And bless me also. And in order to send them out of the land quickly, the Egyptians urged the people on. For otherwise, they said, We are all going to die. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, carrying it on their shoulders in kneading bowls wrapped in clothing. Furthermore, the Israelites acted on Moses' word and asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold, and for clothing. And the Lord gave the people such favor in the sight of the Egyptians that they granted their request. In this way they plundered the Egyptians. The Israelites journeyed from Ramses to Succoth with about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. And a mixed multitude also went up with them, along with great droves of livestock, both flocks and herds. Since their dough had no leaven, the people baked what they had brought out of Egypt into unleavened loaves. For when they had been driven out of Egypt, they could not delay and had not prepared any provisions for themselves. Now the duration of the Israelites' stay in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430 years, to the very day, all the Lord's divisions went out of the land of Egypt. Because the Lord kept a vigil that night to bring them out of the land of Egypt, this same night is to be a vigil to the Lord, to be observed by all the Israelites for the generations to come. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the statute of the Passover, no foreigner is to eat of it. But any slave who has been purchased may eat of it, after you have circumcised him. A temporary resident or hired hand shall not eat the Passover. It must be eaten inside one house. You are not to take any of the meat outside the house, and you may not break any of the bones. The whole congregation of Israel must celebrate it. If a foreigner resides with you and wants to celebrate the Lord's Passover, all the males in the household must be circumcised, then he may come near to celebrate it, and he shall be like a native of the land. But no uncircumcised man may eat of it. The same law shall apply to both the native and the foreigner who resides among you." Then all the Israelites did this, they did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. And on that very day the Lord brought the Israelites out of the land of Egypt by their divisions. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Consecrate to me every firstborn male. The firstborn from every womb among the Israelites belongs to me, both of man and beast." So Moses told the people, "Remember this day, the day you came out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, for the Lord brought you out of it by the strength of his hand. And nothing leavened shall be eaten. Today, in the month of Aviv, you are leaving. And when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites, the land he swore to your fathers that he would give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, you shall keep this service in this month. For 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten during those 7 days. Nothing leavened may be found among you, nor shall leaven be found anywhere within your borders. And on that day you are to explain to your son, 'This is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt.' It shall be a sign for you on your hand and a reminder on your forehead that the law of the Lord is to be on your lips. For with a mighty hand the Lord brought you out of Egypt. Therefore you shall keep the statute at the appointed time year after year. And after the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and gives it to you, as he swore to you and your fathers, you are to present to the Lord the firstborn male of every womb. All the firstborn males of your livestock belong to the Lord. You must redeem every firstborn donkey with a lamb, and if you do not redeem it, you are to break its neck. And every firstborn of your sons you must redeem. In the future, when your son asks you, 'What does this mean?' you are to tell him, 'With a mighty hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And when Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, the Lord killed every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both of man and beast. This is why I sacrifice to the Lord the firstborn male of every womb, but I redeem all the firstborn of my sons. So it shall serve as a sign on your hand and a symbol on your forehead, for with a mighty hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt." When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them along the road through the land of the Philistines, though it was shorter. For God said, if the people face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people around by the way of the wilderness toward the Red Sea. And the Israelites left the land of Egypt arrayed for battle. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him because Joseph had made the sons of Israel swear a solemn oath when he said, "God will surely attend to you, and then you must carry my bones with you from this place." They set out from Sukkah and camped at Etham on the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them in a pillar of cloud to guide their way by day, and in a pillar of fire to give them light by night, so that they could travel by day or night. Neither the pillar of cloud by day nor the pillar of fire by night left its place before the people. Matthew 16. Then the Pharisees and Sadducees came and tested Jesus by asking him to show them a sign from heaven. But he replied, "When evening comes, you say, 'The weather will be fair, for the sky is red,' and in the morning, 'Today it will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast.' You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but not the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation demands a sign, but none will be given it except the sign of Jonah." Then he left them and went away. When they crossed to the other side, the disciples forgot to take bread. "Watch out," Jesus told them. "Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees." They discussed this among themselves and concluded, "It is because we did not bring any bread." Aware of their conversation, Jesus said, "You of little faith, Why are you debating among yourselves about having no bread? Do you still not understand? Do you not remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000, and how many basketfuls you gathered? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000, and how many basketfuls you gathered? How do you not understand that I was not telling you about bread? But beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Then they understood that he was not telling them to beware of the leaven used in bread, but of the teaching of the Pharisees and Sadducees. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he questioned his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others, Jeremiah or one of the prophets. But what about you?" Jesus asked. "Who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon son of Jonah. For this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Then he admonished the disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Christ. From that time on Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and scribes, and that he must be killed and on the 3rd day be raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. "Far be it from you, Lord," he said. "This shall never happen to you." But Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. For you do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men." Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone wants to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. What will it profit a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man will come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will repay each one according to what he has done. Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom."